got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
Yes, it's a beautiful day. It's a fantastic day. It's an awesome day. And we are super, super excited. Guess what? It is the Femi Walsh Prestige Partnership that is being flagged off right here at the Federal Palace Hotel. Oh my God.
What that thing sums awesomeness. We're being at a place where every conversation about Nigeria's independence happened. And then also thinking about royalty, you know, things that make us feel like we're kings and queens when we come into this place. I mean, I'm Uzi's. At this point.
You know, talk about the scenery, the ambience, the rooms. This hotel is actually really good. And the fact that Femi Walsh is partnering with Federal Palace Hotel doesn't just give me the chills, like it makes me happy. Happy.
We're going to be having exclusive events, coverage, and we're going to bring in our expertise to come and give them that edge amongst...
That finesse.
Taking the brand globally through our media. My God. It's not something you want to miss out on this journey that I just started. We're going places, sis.
The Federal Palace Hotel was established in 1960 and constructed by the A.G. Leventis Group. Perhaps one of the most notable thoughts about Federal Palace is that it was used as the venue for independence celebration of Nigeria in 1960. Over the years, the Federal Palace has now become a world-class ultra-modern facility with a touch of elegance. The hotel, which has been recognized nationally and internationally, has become a tourist attraction for many. Perhaps this is the reason Femi Walsh Group decided to partner with the Federal Palace by supporting the hotel with resources and equipment for coverage of all the hotel's events. The president and CEO of Femi Walsh Group, Victor Oluwafemi Walsh, accompanied by the vice president, Idahosa Osamanze, paid a visit to the hotel during the exhibition of the popular Iriri Arts Gallery. It was a day of joy for each of the artists to see that the president of Femi Walsh Group was actually fascinated by their art pieces. The coordinator of the Arts Gallery also expressed his enthusiasm and joy, highlighting the exciting prospects and opportunities arising from the partnership.
Thank you so much, Souq TV, for coming over. It is about celebrating art and creativity. We themed it Luxury and Legacies exhibition. Luxury, as we all know, art is luxury, and the legacies that are left behind by artists are their crafts. So that is why we themed it Luxuries and Legacies exhibition.
Ambassador Victor Walsh encouraged the artists while commending their creativity. The general manager, Herman Britt, was excited that the collaboration between Femi Walsh Group and the Federal Palace Hotel exchanged pleasantries with the president and told Souqnews TV about his joy.
The energy is fantastic, and the support that you've given us is absolutely superb. So, yeah, watch this space, and your support is valued, and I love the partnership that you guys give us. So, looking forward to the journey with you guys.
Other members of the senior management of Federal Palace who were on hand to receive the ambassador and members of the Femi Walsh team include Temitope Ifiodun, HR Manager, Billy Uguechi, Events and Banqueting Manager, Chef Chris Onyanu, the Executive Chef of Federal Palace, Oluwatoyin Salaiman, Housekeeping Manager, Dotun Arogundade, Digital Sales Executive. Each of this senior management staff shared their feelings about the collaboration.
We're actually so excited about this partnership with Souq News. It's going to, be beneficial for both Federal Palace Hotel and Souq News. And we know that all our new offerings will be extended to the larger world. We are actually doing things differently now. Federal Palace is actually doing a lot of things differently now. Our staff are ready to give the best of the best services to our guests.
To cover our events and take care of Federal Palace in terms of media and all that.
The Femi Walsh Group, consisting of all the different subsidiaries like Souqnews TV, the ALFM, Novacraft, and the machinery, look forward to doing great things with Federal Palace Hotel as we kick off the Prestige Partnership.
We're going places, and yes, with Femi Walsh Prestige Partnership, what we want to do is make sure that we're giving the clients of Federal Palace the best of the best of the very best in terms of coverage, streaming, videography, photography. So if you have a wedding ceremony coming up, you got the birthday party coming up, whatever you have coming up, all you got to do is make sure you contact Femi Walsh, because we give you the best of the best of the very, very best.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
Keep watching.
My name is Uyai. I'm a textured artist, and keep watching Souq News.
My name is Alexander Beja, and keep watching Souq News.
Karim Joseph Aramide is my name. I'm a visual artist, and I'm going to tell you this: keep watching Souq.
Hello, I'm Billy Macaulay Oguchi of Federal Palace Hotel. I'm the Banqueting and Events Manager. Keep watching Souq News.
I'm Temitope Ifiodun, HR Manager of Federal Palace Hotel. Keep watching Souq News.
Thank you, guys.
Federal Palace.
See you soon.
Well, thank you very much indeed. My name is Stephen Kola Balogun. I happen to be a lawyer, and should I call myself a pseudo-politician? Not quite a politician, but I've served in government before. And I'm delighted to be here. Well, thank you very much. Well, yes, is it my family or the wider family? I mean, like I said, I'm the son of Chief Dr. Kolawole Balogun of blessed memory. Like I said, he was a former politician, a frontline politician. He was the General Secretary of the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, later National Council of Nigerian Citizens. He was the General Secretary of that party for about 8 years. From there, he was appointed by Souq to become a federal minister. He was initially a federal minister without portfolio. Consequently, after that, he became acting minister for labor, social services, and then he became Nigeria's first federal minister for information in 1956. He held that portfolio to 1958. Thereafter, he resigned from government. He had disagreement with the party. And Tafawa Balewa felt that he was a useful politician that could be sent to Ghana. And he went to Ghana to find out what was. Ghana was a bit ahead of us in terms of politics at the time, and I think it's fair to say they got independence slightly just before us. And Nkrumah, Tafawa Balewa wanted someone to understudy to find out what we're doing, so he sent Kola Balogun there. Initially, he was commissioner, and later, when we gained independence in 1960, he became High Commissioner. Shortly after that, when we became independent, he yearned to come home. He wanted to take part in the new political atmosphere at the time. He asked the Prime Minister to relieve him, to let him come back, and he did come back home. And immediately he took up the position of being chairman of the National Shipping Line. That was a position he held on to until the military struck in 1966. But even then, when the military did strike in 1966, he still continued. I think General Debayo of blessed memory invited him to join his cabinet, and he served as a commissioner for about 3 years or more. I think he was commissioner for health and was commissioner for education. Later, he also became chairman of the Sketch group of companies as well. And that was about it. I think after his stint in government, he decided to go and do a PhD at the University of Ibadan. And then he went back into private legal practice. And then he started this agitation for the creation of Osun State. He and a few others set up the movement. He was the chairman of the movement. And then to the glory of God, in 1991, Osun State was created. And that's it.
Tell us about mommy.
Well, yes, my mother. Well, in those days, the woman wants were not so much in the forefront, But my mother has been my bedrock. She stood by me, and she has backed me in most of the things I've set out to do, And she's still alive. She's 89 this year, and she's still doing well, and she's still
and your wife
going
and
strong.
The kids?
Yes, my children. Yes, I have 3 girls, 3 daughters. My oldest is 31. She studied at King's College London. She did reasonably well. She got a 7th class upper. Proud of her. She's an art curator today. And I have twin girls as well who are also in university now, that they haven't graduated yet. One of them is in Oxford University. She's studying history and politics. And the other is in Cambridge University. She's studying human, social, and political sciences. So, yeah. I did. I mean, my father, Chief Kolawole Balogun of blessed memory. Yes, he was in the 1st cabinet in the 1st Republic, the 1st ever cabinet Nigeria had, and he served as the Federal Minister of Information and Research. As a matter of fact, he happened to be Nigeria's 1st information minister. Later, T.O.S. Benson, of course, became the independent Nigeria's 1st information minister, but independent Nigeria. But Nigeria's 1st ever information minister happened to be Chief Kolawole Balogun of blessed memory. No, I didn't. I took an opposite route from my father. My father went into politics immediately after he finished his education, and then he now ventured into law a little bit later. I decided to look at things differently. I thought that after academics I should practice law a bit, and that's what I've been doing. But at some point, I think that was in about 2011, I was called upon to serve in the Osun State government as a commissioner, and I took up that opportunity, and I enjoyed myself. Well, I am in the sense that I'm 65 years old now, and I think it's fair to say that we belong to, well, I would say the first set, but one of those who benefited from Nigerian education. I schooled here. I went to secondary school in the West. I went to the University of Ife. Went to the Nigerian Law School. I think it's fair to say that all the schools at that time were of high quality, produced top quality students who went on to make names for themselves, not just here in Nigeria, but also abroad. I think we still do that now, even though the standard of education has dropped. The sad thing about it is that Nigeria could have been a lot better in terms of the potential, because Nigeria does have a lot of potential. We do have very brilliant young men and women, you know, and I just think that if we had invested more in education, that we could have, the sky would have been the limit, actually. Well, my take on this is that it's the system of law itself. As a young lawyer, I experienced a few challenges myself, and I think one of the obvious challenges is the appeal structure. It's too easy to appeal against judgments. At the same time, when you file actions in court, there are no penalties for costs. In other words, I can file a frivolous action. I could insult you, as an example, and then you could sue me. And I say to myself, well, I'm going to eke it out. I'm going to take it. You're going to have to take me all the way to the Supreme Court. That doesn't make sense. That's not fair. On the other hand, I could also file a frivolous application against you. And then filing a frivolous application, I could call you something you are not. I could defame you. And in so doing, you expect at least that once you prove your case, that I will be made to pay the penalties for filing frivolous applications. But that doesn't happen. And then, of course, the conditions of the judges. I mean, the judges are still writing longhand. They do trials, they sit there, they listen to witnesses, give evidence, and they have to write all these things down longhand. So there's so many challenges that has hampered the progress of law. And there hasn't been enough investment, I must say. Well, I agree with that, and I'm going to give an example as to how that I think we could possibly do that. Now, the Supreme Court hears everything. It's the final court in Nigeria, so they're going to hear issues related to criminal law, civil matters, constitutional matters, as you know, all these matters that's got to do with elections, and so on and so forth. As a matter of fact, when we have an election cycle, the legal system slows down because the judges are hampered. They're too busy listening to the various appeals from the various states and the federal government to do with the elections. So as a consequence, the other matters to deal with shipping, banking, criminal law are put on the back burner. I think we need what you call a constitutional court, whereby which the judges in the Supreme Court are divided. So you have those judges whose responsibility it is entirely to deal with constitutional matters, and then you have another set whose duty will be to deal with our shipping, banking, civil matters, criminal matters, and so on and so forth. So I believe it's high time Nigeria has a constitutional court to try and aid the Supreme Court with the workload they have, which is, quite frankly, quite a bit. Well, Nigerians, with respect, are very brilliant, very intelligent, and they are very aware. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you're a tailor, you're a driver, you're a lawyer, engineer, they are quite well informed. And the truth of the matter really is that this is the longest republic we've had. This republic started in 1999, and this is 2025, so 26 years. Nigeria's never had a republic this long. But the main flaw is the one you just mentioned. The fact that that constitution that was bequeathed to us by the military in 1999 was never really approved by the people. Now, that doesn't make sense, and that's unfair, in fairness. We ought to be able to look at the constitution, improve upon it, and put our own input into it. Now, there's a way around that, and I've always believed, many people oppose this, but I'm of the view that what Nigerians need to have is a referendum. Have a referendum to ask the Nigerian people whether they want to persist with the 1999 Constitution or do they want to drop a new one. If the answer to that question is yes, we want to drop a new constitution, then that puts paid to the 1999 Constitution, and then you can now have a system, a constituent assembly, whatever the case may be, where people will sit around the table and fashion out a new constitution. If the people say no, that means they've indirectly approved the 1999 Constitution, and then we continue with it. But what we can't do is continue having this debate, these arguments as to whether the 1999 Constitution has been approved by Nigerians or not, because it has not been. So I think the way around that is to ask the Nigerian people through a referendum, asking them whether they want to persist with this Constitution. If they say no, then we have a new one. If they say yes, we continue with the old one. And that ends the debate. Every system has its merits. Every system has its advantages and disadvantages. To some extent, the presidential system of government has its advantage. It has the advantage in the sense that it has brought government nearer to the people. So the people of Osun, from where I'm from, for instance, now, have their own state. Same thing can be said, it's been replicated across the country. However, the drawbacks, the disadvantage is the fact that it's extremely expensive. Now, look at Nigeria, for instance, now. We have 36 state governments. So that means we have 36 governments in Nigeria. If you add the government of Abuja, if you add the federal government, that's 38. Now, each one of these governments have some form of legislature, judiciary, an executive as well, local government, civil service. It's too expensive. Look, in America, where we borrowed this system from, the states came together to form a union. This is totally different. We are doing it the opposite way. So we've had a structure that we're now going back. So at the end of the day, many of the state governments are still dependent on the federal government. And as a consequence, the kind of progress we ought to be making, we're not quite making it. So I personally, and this is a personal view because others would disagree, I would prefer that we reduce the size of government by having some kind of regional structure. And I believe that that will reduce the burden of governments. And if we can reduce the burdens of government, we can use this money to do many other things. And I also think it will also improve standards as well. Not just standards of government or parliamentary standards or whatever the case may be, but there'll be less people involved in the political system. And that would help us a great deal. Well, I think it's fair to say that since 1999, we haven't had any new state creation. I know there's been agitation for the creation of states, but there hasn't been any. The process for creating a state is quite cumbersome. It's not easy. I think it's in Section 8 and 9 of the Constitution. I don't think it's something we should be looking at. I think, like I said to you earlier, I think we should be trying to reduce the number of states, and I think some kind of regional structure whereby which we can monitor better what's going on rather than having more states. So I personally would not encourage the creation of more states, no. In the 1950s, we had 3 regions, if I'm correct. Those regions were the West, the East, and the North. We had the colony of Lagos, but if I'm right, I think it was the MacPherson Constitution, I think it is, I'm not too sure, that now put Lagos under the Western region. Now, when Lagos was placed under the Western region, lots of people were not happy about that. I remember my father was in the NCNC. The NCNC people were not particularly pleased, neither were the NPC. So they felt that Lagos belonged to everybody. Like you said, lots of people from different walks of life, different tribes, different backgrounds, and all schooled. I mean, Zik schooled in Lagos. He went to MBHS. So the issue was sent to London to arbitrate. I think it was Oliver Littleton that arbitrated over the matter. And it was decided that Lagos should stand on its own, that Lagos should not be merged with any of the regions. And that was how Lagos was able to free itself from the shackles of the Western region. It's fair to say that the position of the NCNC was actually argued in London by my father. That's why I'm quite familiar with this. But talking about Lagos, when the military, after that, we had what you called a minister for Lagos. I think there was Ribadu, and I think there was one other person, but I think it was Yaradua, not the same Yaradua, but his father. And then later after that, when the military struck, they created the state of Lagos. So the issue of giving Lagos special status has more or less been taken over by events. Lagos is a state, and as a state, it's still home to different people with different backgrounds, from different tribes, and it's thriving. I think it's fair to say that Lagos is probably the most prosperous state in the country. And it's just a question of its continuing with good governance and improving the strides they have made. Once again, let's go back to the past. We had what we used to call the House of Chiefs, wasn't it? And in those House of Chiefs, many of the members of the House of Chiefs were people, were traditional rulers, chiefs from different backgrounds, and they had a say in the running of the affairs of state. It's like it was more or less akin to the House of Lords. So it wasn't necessarily the chamber whereby which the activities of day-to-day governance took place, but they could always refer issues to them. And I think that if we change our structure of governance, and if, that's a big if, then yes, we can have something like that. We can have a second chamber, which is more or less advisory in nature, similar to the House of Lords, whereby which we will have obas and chiefs and people of influence who will be able to advise government from day to day from the experiences and the way forward, but not necessarily binding. I think that's important. That decisions won't necessarily be binding on us, but at least they'll be able to share their views and experiences with the people. That's a big issue. I was commissioner for youth in Osun about 10 years ago under Rauf Aregbesola, and it was an issue we took quite seriously. In Osun State, we had quite a number of youths who are unemployed, and the governor thought, what can I possibly do to give them something to do, to keep them employed? So he created what we call the Osun State Youth Empowerment Scheme. Now, under the State Youth Empowerment Scheme, unemployed youths were given particular tasks in state. Help us sweep the roads. Some were part-time lecturers. Some were doing all sorts of things. They were given a stipend. It wasn't a full-blown salary. Or the salary, although the stipend was enough to keep them to be able to buy things, to be able to buy themselves drinks and food, and kept them occupied until they could find themselves a job. And I think the federal government could follow that kind of scheme, set up a youth empowerment scheme whereby which unemployed youths are given things to do. There's so many things that need to be done in Nigeria. There's so many gaps whereby which the youths can help do that. In the interim, while they find themselves something more gainful or something more permanent. So it's a question, it's for government to do. It's for government to think of a way of helping out the youths. And of course, there should be partnerships, a partnership between the government and private enterprise to try and encourage them to take on more of our youths, and not necessarily those who have schooled abroad, who they think are probably the best in terms of employment. No, we have many here who can do a good job as well. Sustaining democracy is about discipline. It's about the people being disciplined. It's about those who rule us being disciplined. I started out by telling you that this is the longest government we've had. It's the longest republic we've had. We've had democracy now since 1999, 26 years. If you go back to the days of independence, there's been no republic that has been this long. So it shows that the people have embraced democracy. They've come to it's part of us now. They've come to enjoy it. Yes, there are hiccups in terms of the fact that we could do a lot better in terms of how we implement things. But in terms of the people yearning for democracy and imbibing it, I think we've done very well. And what we just need to do is just to try and perfect it. One of the ways, like I said much earlier, is to perhaps take a second look at the Constitution, see where areas where we can improve, and try and make people happy, and at the same time reduce the cost of governance. But I don't think democracy is going anywhere. I think it's here to stay.
My name is Shino Ogbadegeshin. I'm the CEO of Gozi Micro Insurance. Continue to watch Souq News.
Adenike Adeyemi, Executive Director of Faith Foundation. Keep watching Souq News.
My name is Shepherd Michael Adewale Onofuye. I enjoy you all to always watch Souqnews TV.
Hey everyone, Majuli Obaje here representing Gigi. Keep watching Souq News, okay? Stay updated with Souq News.
My name is Aton Kame. I am the head of MSME Banking. Please keep watching Souq News and stay glued to Souq News.
I recommend that more and more people should watch Souqnews News because they deal with business news.
Hi, my name is Amaka Wokolo. I am the director of the Faith Institute at Faith Foundation. Keep watching Souq News.
We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
Hello, and welcome to Souq News Television. We're reaching you live from our studio in Lagos. I am Antonia Umor. The federal government, with the World Bank and other partners, is expanding the Rural Access and Agricultural Marketing Project to improve rural roads and agricultural value chains and market infrastructure. At a major engagement event in Abuja, government officials and private sector players discussed upcoming procurement opportunities under the project's scale-up phase. Project leaders emphasized early engagement transparency and strict compliance with global procurement standards. The new phase targets underserved communities using innovative procurement methods to attract qualified contractors for roadworks, goods, and consulting services, aiming to strengthen the rural economies and drive inclusive growth. In another story, Nigerian bank customers are represented by Bank Customers Association of Nigeria have petitioned the Central Bank of Nigeria over rising and unclear charges on digital banking services. The petition submitted on June 20th accuses commercial banks of imposing unauthorized fees on transfers, USSD transactions, card maintenance, and routine SMS alerts, calling for immediate regulatory intervention. The rising charges threatens Nigeria's financial inclusion, goes as low as middle-income earners face mounting deductions that strain personal and business finances. If unresolved, experts warn it could push small businesses back to cash-based operations, weaken public trust in informal banking, and disrupt Nigeria's broader economic digitization efforts. The federal government of Nigeria has signed a 20 million euros agreement with the German government to advance Nigeria's economy transition and boost renewable energy development. The agreement finalized in Abuja will be implemented through the KfW Development Bank and the Africa Enterprise Challenge Fund. Nigeria's Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Abubakar Bagudu, stated that the project targets renewable energy adoption, vocational training, and reduction of fossil fuels dependence. Bagudu emphasized that the initiative will expand energy access to underserved communities while creating economic opportunities for youth and women. The German delegation led by Dr. Karin Ganten highlighted that the agreement strengthened Germany's financial partnerships with Nigeria, focusing on impactful renewable energy projects that will be supporting sustainable development across key sectors like health and education. Going over to the UK this morning as British lawmakers will vote today, Friday, to advance a bill legislating assisting for terminally ill adults, marking the country's most significant social reforms in decades. The proposed law will allow mentally ill patients with less than 6 months left to live to seek medical-assisted deaths, replacing earlier court approval with a decision by a professional panel. Supporters argue that the reform offered dignity and choice, while opponents raised concerns over protections for vulnerable people and financial strain on the National Health Service. If approved, the bill will proceed to the House of Lords for further debate, keeping Britain aligned with countries like Canada and Australia. And finally, this morning, the United States government have recovered $225 million for its largest seizure of funds stolen through a cryptocurrency investment scam. According to the United States Attorney Office, victims worldwide were lured into fraudulent crypto investments, while sophisticated blockchain-based laundering networks disguised the stolen funds through hundreds of thousands of transactions. The Federal Bureau of Investigation and the United States Secret Service led the investigation by using blockchain analysis. Authorities confirmed that cryptocurrency fraud cost over $500 billion in losses in 2024. Efforts are ongoing to return the recovered funds to victims as officials emphasize the devastating financial impact of such scams. Many thanks for watching. Do also follow us on our social media platforms at Souqnews Television. Just Africa comes up after this. I am Antonia Umo.
Wole Soyinka. Born Akiwande Oluwole Babatunde Soyinka on July 13, 1934, in Abeokuta, Ogun State, southwest Nigeria, stands as one of Africa's most celebrated literary figures and a global icon of resistance against oppression. His life and works reflect an unwavering commitment to justice, culture, and the transformative power of art. Soyinka was born into a Yoruba family in colonial Nigeria, an environment that exposed him to both traditional African culture and Western education. His father, Samuel Ayodele Soyinka, was a school headmaster, while his mother, Grace Eniola Soyinka, was a devoted Anglican. This blend of indigenous and colonial influences deeply shaped Soyinka's world. Soyinka attended Government College Ibadan and later proceeded to the University College Ibadan, where he studied English and literature. Soyinka completed his education at the University of Leeds in England, earning a degree in English and later a doctorate degree. In the late 1950s, Soyinka began working as a dramaturgist at the Royal Court Theatre in London. However, his passion for storytelling and cultural preservation drew him back to Nigeria, where he founded two theatre groups known as the 1960 Masks and the Orisun Theatre Company. Soyinka's works, often a fusion of Western dramatic techniques and African themes, address universal issues of justice, freedom, and human dignity. His early play, titled A Dance of the Forest, which was introduced in 1960, written to celebrate Nigeria's independence, critically examined the nation's socio-political trajectory, setting the tone for his career as both artist and activist. Soyinka's activism became more visible during Nigeria's post-independence years. In 1967, during the Nigerian Civil War, he called for a ceasefire between federal forces and Biafran separatists. This led to his arrest by the military government, and he spent 22 months in prison, where he wrote a short drama titled The Man Died, Prison Notes, a harrowing account of his imprisonment and a profound critique of authoritarianism. Soyinka has authored more than 20 works, including plays, novels, poetry, and essays. In 1986, Soyinka became the first African to win the Nobel Prize of Literature, an achievement that brought global recognition to African literature. Soyinka remained an outspoken critic of oppressive regimes, often at great personal risk. His activism extended beyond Nigeria, addressing global issues of injustice and human rights. During periods of military rule in Nigeria, he went into exile, continuing to write and speak against tyranny. Today, Soyinka is celebrated not only as a literary giant, but also as a symbol of resilience and moral courage.
I would say now he's gotten the job. If this question had come before now, I would be able to say that I do not think we need him. But he's there now, so all we need to do is see what best he can do or what best we can do to support him to succeed. Now, going by his previous records, going by all that he's achieved in sports, ordinarily, one wouldn't have said he's the best for the Super Eagles at this time. But here we are. Decision makers have made their decisions. They've taken the decisions. We can only talk, but they already have their way. Well, I think his assessment will start when he starts playing games. He's not had any game with Nigeria, so we can't assess him. But going by his previous records, I don't think he would have been the best for Nigeria at this time. Not against other homegrown indigenous coaches who have had better records within and outside Nigeria. On a scale of 1 to 10, I don't think Shele will fit in at any point. But of course, having him been appointed, all we need to do is give support and see the best that we can get from him being Nigerians. And of course, at all times, irrespective of whatever decisions are taken, we want Nigeria to excel. Because in Nigeria's excellence, we are proud. In Nigeria's excellence, those of us that are in the media and sporting media, to be precise, we can do business. If Nigeria is not winning, the biggest brand for Nigeria is the Super Eagles, sports-wise. So if Nigeria is not winning, if Nigeria is not making waves, then we don't have business to do. So it's in our interest that he succeeds. So to that extent, I would say yes. But looking at his appointment, I think it's just a part of the over-politicization of the sporting industry, power show by the immediate past president of the Football Federation, Melvin Pinnick Amaju. Having failed in his 2 terms, continues to transverse the terrain to show he still has power. And of course, he brought Shele. And of course, the Gusau, the incumbent president of the Football Federation, has to listen to his master. So his master's voice, that's what we're experiencing. If they like, let them bring the Herusadi. You see, there are things about Nigeria and Nigerian sports that should not surprise anybody. Politics are played everywhere, and balancing of acts are played everywhere. Federal character everywhere. And the federal character thing is just all very pretentious things they do. Yeah, it's definitely not for the interest of Nigeria. Just to show that, okay, we've taken somebody from the south, or we've taken one from the west, or we are now taking from the north. Who will we take in the north? Let's bring Ahmed Musa. He's calm. He'll be able to talk to the players. What is he going to say to the players? He's past his prime a long time ago. So it's all politics and not in the interest of the nation. I can tell you that. But for Chelle going around Europe, yes, he has to, because everywhere you go, to be the chief coach of the Nigerian national team, senior national team, can be a huge task, because every day you have Nigerian boys showing up in big leagues, in small clubs, in championship clubs, even around the country. You find players everywhere. Nigeria, I think today, if we are not exporting oil, I think we are exporting footballers to everywhere, even those that are born abroad. I mean, you can imagine this young boy at Arsenal, 17, Ethnan Nwaneri, and there's an Okoli, there's Ndidi, both at Leicester City. So everywhere you go, you see Nigerian boys showing stuff. So to be the coach of a Nigerian team at the level of Super Eagles is a huge task. One would expect that we should have a scouting department. One would expect that we have a department that should take charge of team psychology. We expect that we have the technical department or the directorate for technical at the Football Federation to be well equipped with people that are sound in mind, sound technically, and have capacity to work and deliver. With all of that put together, then they should be able to advise and situate the coach at the point where he can deliver and work well. Well, you see, I said yes, because I've been one of those that have always been clamoring that there's need to have a National Sports Commission. Now, having a National Sports Commission that is populated or that is headed by politicians is neither here nor there. It may not take us anywhere. We need to separate our sport. Yes, sports, you cannot do away with politics at some level. But in terms of the administration, in terms of the management, in terms of the execution, there's need to be able to separate sports and politics. In the days where we held sway in sports, where the National Sports Commission functioned effectively, all of those that occupied the position as Director General, as directors in the then National Sports Commission, were professionals. If you recall from the days of Abraham Odia, Awotro Eleya, and of course Isaac Akioye, that laid the structure and foundation for a proper National Sports Commission just after the All-Africa Games, was a thoroughbred professional from the University of Ife. And there are other such professionals all around this country. And you need to ask, if we are not able to seek and give these people jobs and give them tasks to deliver, we always will go look for political loyalists to put in positions so that they answer to us. Politics is just, to me these days, it's more like a window for public relations for political parties and individuals that are into politics to express themselves, or maybe also at the same time also reward loyalists. That's what we find. So in terms of the technicalities on administration and management of sports, in its true sense, we're still very far from it. Plenty improvement, I would say. The current managers of the league are doing everything they can to ensure that our league gets back to a competitive level at the continent, gets back to a competitive level at the rate at which we, those of us local people like myself, can appreciate our football and our footballers once again. The question to ask is to say, are we doing enough? The answer will be no. Who are those not doing enough? The media, the sporting media in Nigeria is not doing well enough. Would I say sporting media? Yes. And also the bigger media is not doing well enough. And because we are not doing well enough, that's why our league is still where it is. We would have gone further than this. The other aspect of it is government. Government across the states. football business is supposed to be good business. Football business is supposed to be run by private individuals and clubs. There's nothing wrong to say that the people of a particular state cannot run a football club in conjunction with other private individuals who will be stakeholders and are interested in the promotion of sport and football in the sense that we're talking about it now. But what we have is that we have state governments owning football teams, and those that are administering the football teams are SA this, SA that have been appointed as a reward, that have been appointed because they are loyal, that have been appointed because they can talk a little bit about foreign leagues. Somebody can talk about the league, talk about the La Liga and the EPL, and that qualifies him to be SA in charge of sports in some states of the federation. And these are the bunch of persons or the group of persons who are running our football around the country. So who runs the clubs, the texture of the clubs, what names the clubs are bearing, what history behind the clubs, those are the things that tells you that the states are not doing enough, the Football Federation not doing enough, but I think largely the media, check out our sports programs. All you find are talking heads talking about who scored the best goal in the world, who scored the best goal in Europe, who scored the best goal in England and all that. That's what we find. You hardly will see shows, package shows about the best goals of the Nigerian League over the past weekend. The best goals, the best dribbles, how many passes, proper statistics, because the media is not doing enough. The sporting media, that is journalists that are practitioners, they are not doing enough because they are not tasking themselves. They just go on the internet, download one or two things, watch and everything. All you know is you take, as a content creator in sports, you need to just take a shot of the goal that, the assist that Nwaneri gave, or Merino scored a goal for Arsenal, and you superimpose yourself and you talk over it. And that's content, and you post it, and there are likes and there are followers, and that's it, what we do. But you do not have individuals going to places to take content. All around Lagos, we look at as we are now, all around Nigeria, sports is going on every day. As a practitioner myself, in those days when I used to be the street reporter, we covered football from everywhere. From Abeson, from Bagada, from Volkswagen, down on Ojo, Abeta, anywhere. All of those places, and boys are still playing football. You go to Evans Square, boys are still playing football. Go to Lafayette, they're still playing football. Go to Alakoro, you still see boxing. So all of these sports are still going on. But where are the journalists that will cover these events and bring them to the fore and package them? The journalists are not ready to do that job. Even those that are ready are not funded. Those that work are not paid salaries. So everybody is just finding the easy way out, cutting corners and doing their best. Now for our league and our sports to grow, there has to be heavy investment in the media. Because everything you see about the EPL, the La Liga, you take the EPL and analyze it, you see a variety of shows all about the weekend games, the weekend wrap, the best goals, the best flops, the referee angle, even the advertising and marketing. Because when all of this are put in a fray, then people can relate to it. People can leverage on it. Brands can come and give sponsorship. But we are not able to attract sponsorship because there's nothing for the brands to take away. Because if you give brands value, they will attach to it. And it never used to be so. Before 2006, the La Liga was not popular. The EPL was not popular. The Champions League was not popular. What were Nigerians watching? Because the media itself sold out. By investing, Nigerian media organizations came together, put money together, and went to buy rights of the EPL and started broadcasting it on Nigerian television for the consumption of Nigerians so they can make cheap money. From telcos and from the brewing industry, they made more money for themselves. I mean, the media houses, rather than invest in the local league. Then they will tell them, who will watch Nigerian league? I mean, those are the questions they asked at the time. Some of us that that were able to find courage, we found courage and we asked them, why would we be doing this? But of course, we were not many enough for our voices to be heard. And that's why we're here, we are where we are. So it's not far when we lost it. Can we redeem ourselves? Yes, we can, if we want to. But it will take a whole lot of courage. It will take a whole lot of work. It will take a whole lot of commitment. God help us.
Dr. Souq A. Adedeji, whose leadership has significantly transformed Nigeria's tax administration, is a distinguished first-class graduate in accounting from the prestigious Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, and he currently serves as the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS.
I firmly believe in the wisdom encapsulated in the statements. Revenue growth is the lifeblood of a nation's economy, providing means to fulfill essential duties to its citizens. These words capture the core principle that will guide us as we navigate the challenging terrain ahead, ensuring that our nation thrives and fulfills its obligations to its citizens. In our pursuit of greater fiscal future, we are determined to align ourselves with President Bola Tinubu's Extreme Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform Committee. This collaboration will enable us to shape the prosperous fiscal landscape that will empower our nation's growth and development.
Born on January 8, 1978 in Ogbomoso, Oyo State, Nigeria, Dr. Adedeji is an accomplished accountant and public officer with extensive expertise in corporate taxation and public finance. His journey in public service began in 2011 when he was appointed as Commissioner for Finance in Oyo State. In that capacity, Adedeji introduced transformative financial reforms, most notably the establishment of the Treasury Single Account (TSA) to streamline government revenues and expenditures. In March 2021, President Muhammadu Buhari appointed Adedeji as Executive Secretary of the National Sugar Development Council (NSCDC). In this capacity, he founded the Nigeria Sugar Institute and spearheaded the Sugar Backward Integration Program, which sought to enhance local sugar production and reduce reliance on foreign imports. In June 2023, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu appointed Adedeji as Special Advisor on Revenue, and by September of that same year, he had ascended to the position of Executive Chairman of FIRS, Nigeria's leading tax authority responsible for the assessment, collection, and management of federal taxes.
The focus will be on these indirect taxes, so that as long as you consume, you have to pay. As long as you have interest on your investment, you have to pay. And this is echoing Mr. President's message that we are not going to tax the seed, but we are going to tax the fruit. The fruit is what we focus on. So all those things, when we have this holistic process, it will be captured, and that the vision is to have a progressive tax, that if you earn more, you pay more, and if you earn less, you will not pay.
Under his leadership, FIRS exceeded its 2023 revenue target of 11.55 trillion naira. As chairman of FIRS, Dr. Adedeji implemented a performance-based system aligning with the service's new slogan, simplifying tax, maximizing revenue.
Dr. Souq Adedeji has done incredibly well in transforming and reforming the tax processes and procedures in Nigeria. In a little over a year being at the helm of the affairs of the tax body in Nigeria, we have seen a significant improvement in revenue generation. His policy of not crumbling business with taxation is something that also needs to be applauded, Souq Adedeji philosophy is taxing fruits and not the seed, and taxing prosperity, not poverty. Because if you look at the fiscal landscape of Nigeria in the past 10 years, you find that businesses have struggled to live, and that has led to the exit of so many businesses from Nigeria. But with this new reform, we're saying that the businesses will profit from the reforms processes, and that will mean more business for Nigeria. We will have a lot of foreign inflow in terms of foreign direct investment that will actually drive the process of economic growth for the country. And I think he has done so well, and he deserves a kudos, especially for taking the giant stride to restructure FRS for efficiency, for accountability, and for value for money.
He has also made the welfare of the staff a top priority, fostering a positive working environment that has brought smiles to the faces of FIRS employees nationwide. Supporters of the tax reform bills highlight several key benefits, harping on the need for streamlined tax processes that could reduce bureaucratic hurdles and foster an environment where businesses can thrive.
He has initiated a lot of reform which dovetail into the tax reform bills that is before the National Assembly. This initiative is to improve on the tax administration system in Nigeria with a view to improving on the collection systems that will be beneficial to every member of the Nigerian state. Souq, as is well known, has improved on simplifying tax reform even within the federal land revenue, which in no means has improved on tax administration, and he celebrated essentially for the core initiative of the tax reform.
Under Dr. Adedeji's leadership, Nigeria's tax system has gone beyond mere policy adjustments. Its focus is on fostering sustainable growth and ensuring that the benefits of tax reforms reach both businesses and citizens.
So those that are attaching the bill, one, they are doing that in view of the formula they discovered, which may not be, will not go well for them on the bad allocation. And then secondly, they may be having the feeling that this law was just designed to favor Lagos State in the course of its own effort to become a state that has special status. Okay? It says so that will make it to be seen as if it is a country of its own, even though it's not up to the level of country, but it is higher than all other states in the country. Probably this may be the reason why they are agitating. The one that you can see clearly is on this issue of VAT. And then they have other suspicion. So that is another worry that I have. The issue of trust. Trust, what do some experts call trust deficit. Yes, will be promoted greatly by this if corrective measures are not taken. Graduation has not been defined. But then people have to go by what is happening now. As they go against it. Since now the graduation is about contribution of state that are producing these goods and services being consumed. So they have the right to just say that, oh, well, so now instead of 20%, it will now be 60%. And then you hear the government functionaries, including members of the committee, saying that no, that's not what they mean. They mean area of consumption. This 60% graduation is about consumption area, not location of the headquarters of company that produce the good or services. You should have defined that in the law.
Contributing to long-term national development, Dr. Souq A. Adedeji's career is a testament of his unwavering commitment to improving Nigeria's financial systems and enhancing revenue generation, showcasing his exceptional expertise in corporate and public finance.
A very good morning to you. Welcome to Just Africa on Souqnews Television, your frontline current affairs program in business, economy, and development. We explore bold ideas, transformative strategies, and the people reshaping the African continent. Today, we turn our spotlight on a compelling topic: stronger currencies, stronger nations. What Africa can learn from Ghana's economic moves. Across the continent, weak currencies have long been a source of vulnerability, eroding the purchasing power, inflating debt, and undermining investor confidence. But in the first half of 2025, Ghana has emerged with a surprising story. The Ghanaian cedi has shown remarkable resilience, recording one of the best performing African currencies against the United States dollar as Ghana pushes forward with structural reforms and enhanced fiscal discipline. So, in this conversation, we will be looking at Ghana as a country, and we'll be making comparisons with Nigeria, with other African countries, and see what has Ghana done differently, that it seemed to be its cities, its currency is one of the performing in the continent of Africa. The Tunisia dirham is there, the Libyan dirham is there, the Egyptian pound is there, and the Nigerian naira is there. But as usual, Just Africa, I'm not the only one doing the show this morning. It's Friday. Olumide, good morning to you.
Good morning, Priya. Thank God it's Friday. How are you doing?
I'm okay.
I'm Olumide Shokoya. So glad to have you on Just Africa.
Yes. So we are looking at the Ghanaian cedi today, and I have lots of questions for our guests. What could be that push? What could be the catalyst? And what is actually working around the Ghanaian economy that could make it, place it at the stage, at the pedestal where it currently is. As for Nigeria, we have our own troubles, or with his own advantage and disadvantage, and what is responsible. Because most of the time when we talk about Nigerian economy, growing, people attribute it to the current economic reforms by the current administration.
Yes.
So, Mr. John Mahama, what does he seem to be doing differently? Because if we go to William Ruto's Kenya and how the shillings is performing, it should be somewhere maybe 5th or 6th or maybe even 7th when we look at it in the continent of Africa. And what are they doing differently? Because currently as we speak, there seems to be a mild protest going on in Kenya. They've had one last year, and sometime in the beginning of this year they had another. So what seems to be going on in the economic space? What is Ghana doing differently? And I've seen responses on what Ghana is doing differently, and I'm like, it's not a magic wand, but why does it seem to place the city at that pedestal where it currently is now is something I would like to know.
Well, one of the things I like about Ghana is how they diversify their economy. At least I've been to Ghana, though it was short, but I noticed that they produce not just what they export, but they also produce it. For instance, cocoa, they export it. They also produce chocolate in Ghana. And one of the policies that I think helped them was gold for oil, using their own gold to pay for oil import. Okay. So to reduce the pressure of the dollar. That was one of the yes, there was a bailout they had, I think, in 2023, about $3 billion bailout from the International Monetary, Fund. They also raised interest rate to kind of like cushion inflation. They raised it several times. They did a whole lot of things, and they diversified. They were producing, they were doing this, and it really helped them stabilize their currency. So I think there are a lot of things we can actually learn from them. Number one is diversifying. Yes, Nigeria is also diversifying. We're not, now we are reducing the pressure on oil export. We are trying to, export other things. So, Nigeria is also growing, but, there are a whole lot of things we can learn. And of course, when the guest comes on, I would really like to know a whole lot more.
Okay, so whilst we were talking, I was running my mind around, and one aspect that my mind went to is that when I was reading literature about making comparison between Ghana and Nigeria, someone was actually painting a picture, and he said that something that spoke very well for the Ghanaians was that when you go to the Tema Airport is one of, if not the biggest airport in Ghana. And the way the environment is structured, it is structured very, very business-like. Of course, all airports are structured business-like, including the Murtala Mohammed International Airport. But there was like, okay, if you want to make a difference between that, Murtala Mohammed International Airport and the Tema Airport in Ghana, is that you see there's high level of regulation. If you don't have a business to do in the airport, you don't come in there. You're not seen looking around, unlike what you see in the Murtala Mohammed International Airport.
When I give my experience about Ghana, one of the things I always talk about is their airport. When we got to Ghana Airport, I was wondering, is this an airport?
Okay.
I'm used to going to
a bustling
airport with crowd. This one is coming to meet you. Boy, what do you want to do? Where are you going? But no, it was peaceful. First of all, they have free Wi-Fi. Thanks to Ghana.
Free Wi-Fi?
Yes, free Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Yes. So immediately you enter Ghana, I think they understand that, of course, you are coming from another country. Of course, your network provider might not be able to operate in their own connection. There's free Wi-Fi for you to do. Because actually, when we got to Ghana, we were trying to connect with the person who was supposed to pick us. So with their Wi-Fi, we were able to call them on WhatsApp. So that was it. And it is orderly.
Okay.
It is orderly. When we got to the immigration officer, he was very nice. Now, typical me, I was thinking, he would say anything for us, this, that. But he just, what are you guys doing in Ghana? Welcome to Ghana. He was very friendly, and immediately he handed my passport back to me, and that was it. Okay. And I got my passport, and I was looking at him like,
okay, what next?
It's beautiful. Okay. It's just like you said, if you have no business in the airport, you will not be found lurking there.
Okay, and this other part the person pointed out was that, okay, when you get there and you're trying to change when you mentioned the free Wi-Fi, I was like, don't even mention free Wi-Fi, because I remember when we used to board the BRT vehicles when they were newly introduced in the city of Lagos, there was free Wi-Fi in those buses. But right now, I can't tell if we still enjoy that. Well. But in Ghana, that you want to change your currency, your foreign currency, to the local currency, which is the cedi, because since you're visiting the country, you need to spend that money. That unlike what you see in Nigeria, I'm sorry, we cannot demarket our country, We're just making comparisons among African countries. So, when you meet some people who are coming to change dollar, they are calling your attention, immediately you get out and like, do you want to change your dollar and all of that, but that what you have over there in Ghana, you've been directed to
a specific office. And your transaction is smooth. If you want to do a transfer in your own currency, you can do that. They'll give you the number, they'll do everything, and they'll give you the cedi.
And there's a corporate environment created for that purpose, not street traders who will be calling and jostling for your attention. Well, I think it brings, we know that the government of Nigeria is bringing sanity to the airport. However, it would be nice to point all these out. Well, great. So, corporate. One other thing I learned about is transportation, and this is in terms of port and the shipment. So, Niger Republic and some other African countries are a landlocked state with no access to the major seaports. And Nigeria being a contiguous state, you know, Lagos port and other ports in the country, it serves as a destination for them to, you know, bring in their goods. From Europe. So yes. And they get to Nigeria from the ports in Nigeria. They are not directed or, you know, offloaded then by land taken into Niger Republic and to some other African countries. That, you know, when Nigerians are critical of their government, they tend to say, okay, our ports, we need that. There's still, the government has done a lot. However, there's still much to be done. And because the time for clearing our goods, we're spending 21 days in the port before you clear. In South Africa, we're told you can do that in less than 3 days. In Ghana, we're told you can do that less than a week. So if all these are some of the bottlenecks that seem to be loosened up in Ghana and that will facilitate the economic transformation, you know, open the economy up for the ease of doing business, is something to be emulated. However, there's something I want to point out, because if you look at the population of Ghana, it's no match for Nigeria. And if you have a bigger population, you
Lagos
have
is
a lot
almost
of
bigger
things.
than Ghana.
Exactly. So you have a lot of things to deal with if you have a bigger population, because you are saddled with the responsibility of not only building institutions or building carrying out reforms that will, you know, go around 36 states, including the Federal Capital Territory, putting out reform laws for both the businesses and the private individuals, including the governments, to be regulated by, and for everyone to fall in order, in line, to bring about the economic and the business efficiency, and including the development that we all aspire to have. So could it be that the less population we have in Ghana has made it possible for the government there to do some of these things? Because their non-food inflation moved from like 22% recently to, no, from 18% rather to 17%. And their food inflation moved from like 22% to 21%. And we're asking what could be the reason for this? And he was mentioning the statistician general. That's the statistician general. If you go to the National Bureau of Statistics in Nigeria, I think the representation of the institution in Ghana was saying that it's because of the movement of goods, transportation, and the efficiency of their port system. I would like to see that replicated in Nigeria and some other African countries.
Well, I don't think it's population, because if you say population, I'll call China. I'll call US. What's their population compared to Nigeria? So I think it's just about management and just setting your eyes on the goal. I think Ghana, what they did, they set their eyes on the goal. Yes, Ghana has been relatively politically stable compared to other countries like South Africa, the apartheid time, Nigeria, you know, from military to democratic. Ghana has fairly had some stable political, you know, atmosphere.
Stable since 1999 to 2000, when we got into the Fourth Republic. When we got to the Fourth Republic, and we have, you know, maintained 26 years unbroken transition of political power to from civilian administration to another civilian administration. We've been quite stable.
I think one of the things also is the mindset. Something Dr. Idausa is always saying, the mindset of the people. So when I was in Ghana, now I stood by the road, I wanted to cross, and the vehicles actually stopped for me to cross. I was shocked.
Was it zebra crossing?
No zebra crossing. I just stood. You know, the Nigerian army wanted to wave the cars down, but they just stopped. I actually saw that before I did it. I saw a lady, a young lady, standing by the road, and the buses, commercial buses, stopped.
Actually stopped.
And you know, and there's this atmosphere of not littering anything. It just comes to your head that yes, this place is very, very orderly. So I think it's the mindset of the people. Also.
You're still watching Just Africa. We're going to break. When we return, we'll have our guest join us on the program. Do stay with us.
Africa Development Studies Center, ADSC. We are committed to driving sustainable growth and development across Africa through innovative training and research. Our mission: empowering leaders, policymakers, and professionals with the tools they need to create lasting change. With customized training, dynamic research programs, and study exchanges on leadership, management, and other critical development topics, ADSC offers a platform for exchanging cutting-edge ideas and global best practices. We provide comprehensive services in research and consultancy, capacity building and training, education programs, publishing, and knowledge sharing. Our esteemed faculty, composed of seasoned experts and researchers, ensures a learning experience that is insightful and practical. We specialize in policy development, implementation strategies, monitoring, and evaluation. At ADSC, learning is engaging and enjoyable. Our unique methodology includes talks, interactive exercises, games, video screenings, and lively seminar discussions, all in a comfortable and friendly environment. Ready to make an impact? For more information, email us at info@adstudycenter.com or call +234 912 439 2362. Visit us today at www.adstudycenter.com to explore our programs and upcoming events. Africa Development Studies Center, rethinking development for Africa.
Anthony Onyemaechi Elumelu was born on the 22nd of March 1963 in Jos, North Central Nigeria, to Susanna Dominic Elumelu, originally from Delta State. Tony earned a degree in economics from Ambrosely University, where he laid the foundation for his future career, and then furthered his education at the University of Lagos, where he obtained a master's degree in economics. His academic journey also includes attending the Harvard Business School, where he completed the Owner of President Management program, equipping him with advanced business management skills. Tony currently serves as the chairman of Heirs Holdings, Transcorp, and United Bank for Africa, UBA, demonstrating his significant influence in the banking and investment sector. He founded the Tony Elumelu Foundation, which aims to empower African entrepreneurs through comprehensive training, mentorships, and funding opportunities. In addition to his professional achievements, he's also a family man, married to Dr. Adele Vivian Elumelu, and together they have 7 children. In 2020, his efforts were acknowledged when he was named one of Time's 100 most influential people in the world. Anthony Elumelu's net worth is estimated to be around $700 million, a testament to his successful ventures and strategic investments. Elumelu continues to be a driving force in the business world, advocating for sustainable economic growth and empowering the next generation of African entrepreneurs.
Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us on the program. Our focus is on the Gold Coast, Ghana. We're talking about recent moves by its currency, the cedi, and how it's performing in the continent of Africa in comparison to other currencies. Joining us on the program today to dissect the issues is Leila Muta-Jogira, Chief Executive Officer of Muta Investment, private equity specialist, and a respected voice in Africa's investor community. Good morning to you, Leila. Many thanks for joining us on the program on Just Africa.
Yes, good morning. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this time.
Great. It's good to have you here. And it will be good for me to also, is it okay to tell them that you're joining us from Uganda, having this conversation about the Ghanaian currency and the economy?
So you can write. You are right. I'm joining from Uganda. You can call it East Africa. Now we are one. But yes, thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us. Now, first of all, I am surprised that Ghana City is performing very, very good. And I would like to ask, Nigeria is called the giant of Africa. When we look at Tunisia, when we look at Egypt, when we look at some like Morocco, because some of their currencies are quite doing well as well, I am tempted to wonder and ask, what exactly has Ghana done differently? Or what exactly has Mr. John Mahama done differently to make the currency, to put the currency rather, on that pedestal?
Yes. So Ghana have understood one thing that other African countries that need to learn from. Ghana has understood that Africa doesn't need pity anymore. Africa doesn't need anyone to save us. And that's what they are doing. And mostly what they have done differently is to understand that their country has values, and the only way to add value to their values is to produce from inside, instead of exporting or exporting while you're also importing the same things 10 times. They have also tried to say, you know what, we are going to make sure we import the things that are ready instead of importing raw materials.
All right, thank you very much, Leila. So let's jump right to it. Can you take us through some of the reforms that Ghana has implemented that other African nations haven't? Can you let us know?
Yes, it's a good question. What Ghana has really done right now is quietly something that everyone in Africa should learn. There are other African countries which are doing well, but Ghana specifically, it has managed to say that we have our resources, we have gold. Instead of exporting as other people or other countries are doing to rely on the dollar, let's focus on getting our gold from our locals, produce it, but also process it, then we import it when it's ready. And the most important thing that they have done is initially to make sure that gold is buying. Instead of using their local currency, they're using gold to buy oil and other things to come in the country. So that's what has made really their currency come from here to up to another level, which is very interesting because it's really it's building the country, but also it's building their people, because right now the people are benefiting in job creation if everything can be done from the country and you don't need to export everything. Then I do believe there's a job opportunities for youth and young people in the country. Yeah.
All right. I think I learned that recently Ghana engaged in debt restructuring activity for about $10 billion. They actually met with some of their stakeholders and their creditors to have a debate or a conversation about restructuring. So in this sense, probably if they have been given a specific period of time to pay up the debt, probably at the moment, as a result of the restructuring negotiation, it must have been extended. Could you speak to some of the way they've handled their debt profiles or their debt with the International Monetary Fund that must have worked in their own advantage, you think other African countries can emulate?
I would say one thing as an entrepreneur, especially as an investor, the one thing that you should really, you need as an investor is to have a safe system. And one of the things that Ghana has managed to build is a system especially for investors who are coming from outside or within. And most importantly, what they have managed to do is to make sure their strategy that comes for everyone who is investing, they find a safe space. And it has really built the country, but also it has really built a safe space to do business in Ghana. I don't know if that's exactly what you wanted me to answer, but on that point, I do believe that the thing that they have done right is to build a safe space for business.
So equities, I know in the part of equity. Now, I want to make comparison. Recently, the Bureau de Change in Nigeria has been given a a recapitalization task by the Central Bank of Nigeria. And for 3 times now, it has extended the date on which this bureau de change are going to recapitalize, and most of them cannot, meet the benchmark for recapitalization. So it kept on, the CBN kept on extending it. And it's running to about billions of naira. So one of the fears about investment was that if they attract foreign equity into the local market, there's the tendency that foreigners are going to end up owning the businesses someday. How do you think Ghana is performing in that space?
Ghana is performing on this space by, as I mentioned, as creating right strategies. And the right strategies gives the opportunity both to the locals, but also both to the investors. And one of the systems that I've used, all the investors come in, they have limited percentage they have in equity. But also, most importantly, there is also the employment. You don't just employ from people outside or come with your people. What most of the time that is happening is that if someone is an investor and they're bringing a business in the country, most of the time they come with their own people, which is taking now the job opportunities to our own local people. And what they have done right is to make sure they have built a standard, and the system says that if you're an investor, this is what you do, and this is the percentage you can't go far if you are investing as an equity, and this is the job or the number of people you can bring in the country. And I believe also Nigeria, it also needs to come out from fear. It needs to understand that no one is coming to save us, and the world has really showed us that Trump, what he said recently, other countries are suffering from, because now they can't access their donors and also the help that they have been receiving. Now it's kind of scared, but for me, it's now a time to say enough is enough. We have enough. We should use it and create something and add value to it. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Leila. The Bank of Ghana has done some aggressive monetary policies, one of which is that it raised its interest rate several times, to attract, to combat inflation, of course, and attract investors back to the cedi. It also restructured domestic debt, reducing the pressure on the government to print, more money. Could you take us through how Ghana was able to achieve this?
Yes, I would say in perspective as a business person, not as a politician, but in one of the things that I've managed to do, I don't know if you can still hear me, but one of the things that I've managed to do is to create a system, as I mentioned. They have created a system to say that instead of really importing the gold from outside the countries, so people that can buy it, then process it, create maybe jewelries and all that, and come and sell it in the country 10 times. We should build refineries. We should process it, our own gold, then we should use it against a dollar. We should use it to buy oil, because they've been using gold to buy oil, and they have been using other things to gold to buy other things that are coming in the country. What has managed to do is to strengthen the cedi or their currency, and now it has become now a good news. It's they are doing really amazing, but I would say in a perspective of business, they have managed to show us that right strategies, a right system can create something wonderful, and that's what we need to learn as an African.
Awesome. When the interest rates were raised to combat inflation, did it have any positive or negative effect on the economy?
Please repeat that again.
When Ghana raised its inflation, I beg your pardon, when Ghana raised its interest rate to combat inflation, what was the effect on the economy? Was it negative or positive?
I do believe 100% it was a positive way. This is not about just the currency. This is about the value of the country, and this is the way the country stand on itself and say we are doing the right thing. When we talk about the currency, we are not just talking about money. We are talking about the people. We are talking about the leadership, because we can't you can't increase, or you can't reach from where the currency is now on 0, then tomorrow is 20% increase, because there are systems that has to be there, and Ghana has managed to build those systems around it, and I do believe it's a positive thing, and that's one of the things we can learn from as African continent, as African ourselves, to stop really depending on others, and also focusing on what we have, which actually, yes, Africa is among of the richest continent. It's surprising that we're among of the poorest, but we do have resources, and Ghana has shown us that with everything we have, with the right system that we can create and the right leadership, yes, we can build something, and that's really positive.
Okay, thank you. Now, as a private equity specialist, I want to know how the stability in currency, can fuel investors' appetite, to put their money in an economy. Because one thing about Nigeria, and I also believe also among Ugandan businessmen or African businessmen, if they see that in Ghana, in Uganda, or in Tanzania, or in Cote d'Ivoire, their currency is quite stable. They could be making business decisions to go into that terrain to invest. Recently, Tony Elumelu, went to Cote d'Ivoire to establish a subsidiary of his business empire, and that is going to bring much more business and economic development to Cote d'Ivoire. So do you think investors in Ghana and in Uganda are taking advantage of currency stability to put more into investment in these climes?
So the current stability really means the strong leadership, and that brings, as an investor, it brings the confidence in yourself to say, this is the right choice and this is where I should put my money. And I think what we should learn from this as an African is that, yes, we need investors, but we have to give a reason why investors should invest in us by starting with us. We don't expect someone to come and invest 1 billion USD in our country while we're not also investing in ourselves. And that's what Ghana has really done. And also, as an African, if you are looking for an investor, create for them a space. It's not about the currency. It's create for them a space, and also make sure you show them the system, because the system is the most important thing. A lot of people, investors come, and they're smart people. They understand that I'd rather go and buy the raw materials in Africa, take it to my home, produce it, and make it better, then sell it 10 times the amount that they're buying it. And if African, as an African, if we can focus on our values and we welcome these investors, instead of buying from us in raw materials, we welcome them to come here and invest in what we have. It can be coffee, it can be cocoa, it can be gold or other things, but we do really have strong, I would say, the richest continent. We do have really a lot of materials here. Let's produce these materials. There we can produce a strong currency, and then we can produce a strong nation. I hope I have answered your question.
All right, thank you very much. Now, one of the successes Ghana has recorded is in digital finance. Of course, if you talk about mobile money, Ghana has made a lot of strides. How has this also affected the economy?
Yes, it's technology. They have understood that the world is moving so fast, and one of the things that means they're moving so fast is to be able to pay anywhere and anytime. And this has really built the currency, because not only the Ghanaians, but also the Ghanaians who are living from outside the countries, they can be able to send money and also receive money without waiting for days, or the traditional ways that they have been doing. Yes, it has really been also the most important point, or where it has built a value from within the people in exchange of the money, but also it has reduced the use of the cash allowed moving around among the people, which is a good thing because it's building the people with the easiest and smooth ways to exchange cash, but also building their currency by adding the value to the currency.
All right. Also, before I hand over to Priye, do you believe that the citizens of a nation, it is important for them to also have trust in their currency, that it also helps boost the power of their currency?
Yes, they should really 100% believe in their currency. A lot of African people, including East Africa, we have really focused on one thing, and one thing is the dollar. We've been thinking that the only way to make money is to exchange what we have in the dollar, which has really killed our currency, which has also killed us because we are not really thinking on what we have, or we are not thinking the long-term thinking, and that mindset really, it's killing us. And I do believe if we start thinking how best we can make our currency and also believing in our currencies, it's going to build our nation.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, we're talking about investment and all of that. But one of the things that Tony Elumelu, the former chief executive officer and president of the African Development Bank, that's Akinwumi Adesina, spoke about in one of the World Economic Forums in United Arab Emirates, was that if 1.4 billion Africans can trade together, then they will cut themselves off from being dependent on foreign manufactured products finding their way into the African markets, that is demarketing the manufactured products in Africa. So we're going to go on a break. When we come back from this break, we'll be talking about manufacturing, production in Africa. Do we have the infrastructure in place? What sort of investment does the government and private investors need to do to put the atmosphere and create an ecosystem for both local and foreign investors to have confidence in, to put in their money? And those are what we'll be looking at when we come back from this break. Ms. Leila, do stay on the line. We'll be back in a moment. It's Just Africa.
Hello Nigeria, hello Africa. Yeah, this is Sound Man. Keep watching Souq News.
My name is Babalola from Excel LED. Keep watching Souq News.
My name is Shepherd Michael Adewale Onofuye. I enjoy you all to always watch Souq News TV.
Hi, I'm Tom Boggaballs, and please keep watching Souq News.
Wale Seriki, SLG Lagos Island East. Souq News, keep out watching them and keep a lookout for them. They're up and coming, and we're proudly to be affiliated with them.
You alone where they make me go crazy. This your love in the cool of my brain. You're my medicine, I need you all day. Yo, it's Blackface Nigeria, and you're watching Souq News TV. Keep it locked on this dial, don't change it. You know what I say? Blackface Nigeria, love no bad.
Good morning to you once again, and welcome to the program. We're reaching you live from the city and the center of excellence, the commercial city of Lagos, Nigeria. I am Oyinpriye Krumale once again. Our conversation is centered around the strengthening and the Ghanaian city, how it's been performing recently when we look at the African economy. And our conversation this morning has been with Lena Mutajogira. I hope I got that right. She is a private equity specialist an investment specialist, and also someone who is a business strategist. Good morning to you once again, Leila. Many thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
Very much welcome. Now, I know you're familiar with the African Continental Free Trade Area, and this was supposed to facilitate trade among African countries, from Nigeria to Ghana to Niger Republic, Cote d'Ivoire, coming to East Africa, in Uganda, then to Kenya, or to North Africa, Morocco, Egypt, Tunisia, and all of that. And if Africa sail on the ship, on that trade and economic ship of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, it has been said that our income is going to skyrocket. And as we speak, the economic disadvantages that is bedeviling the continent would seem to fade away. Do you share that perspective?
Yes, I do share that perspective because Africa, they need to change their mindset when it comes to other African countries. Ourselves, if we can't trust ourselves, why do we expect someone else to come and trust us? Among us, as East African community, one of the initiative that their first initiative why they formed East African, it was the exchange of goods and also exchange of the market. But still, when you look at African or East Africa, you find themselves again, they are still looking for, instead of exchanging the goods, they're still looking at everything as partition. They're still thinking about why we should not exchange the goods instead of why we should exchange the goods. Yes, I do believe if Africa should really, and Africans start trusting what we have and also trusting each other in order to really to build a strong nation or a strong continent.
Yes. So if I want to come invest in Uganda, if I perchance come to Ghana and I want to take a flight to Uganda, and I'm coming to invest in Uganda, because when you come to Nigeria at the moment now, what you're looking at startups. For startups are doing optimally very well, most especially in the commercial city of Lagos. When you go to Accra, we are told about the transportation. We are told about
of the time I will speak about industrial real estate, and also where we can also build our industries, because we do have a lot of I really do have raw materials that need to process. As I mentioned, one of the issue that we are having as an Africa is to import or export the raw materials. Instead of if you're coming as an investor, instead we in middle class there is a need of really houses. So if you are coming in real houses, I will advise you to come in commercial real estate, because there is massive opportunity there.
All right, thank you very much. I would like to ask this question. How crucial is regional cooperation and integration, like the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, in strengthening the currency and, of course, economic stability?
It's really a good question. Let's be honest. We've been doing it for some quite time, and the data has showed us it's not working. And if we can really trust, as you mentioned, if we can trust ourselves and also exchanging our goods from inside, it doesn't really not only strengthen the currency, but also it's adding the value to African people and our continent. And if I believe one of the things we should really focus on right now is to trust in ourselves, but also most importantly to trust that we do have enough, and also we can use it inside and also we exchange it as among ourselves before we think of other countries or other continent. And I hope we can change the mindset on that.
Okay. So if we look at Uganda to Ghana or to Kenya or coming down to Nigeria, so one of the things that we can talk about is that Africans have raw materials, but they lack the technology to develop this raw material. So we keep exporting these raw materials to
The strong strategies. If it's a business, I do believe if it's a business or as a leader, you need to build strategy among whatever you are doing. And secondly, they should really stop being selfish. I would say it again and again. If you are sitting on the table and you believe that you have sitting there for the leadership of your people, you should think about the leadership of the people and how best can you add the value to your people. And the third, I would say, they should think beyond today. They should think about the future. In long term, their generations, their grandkids. And that's how you start really build Africa. You have to start thinking long-term game instead of short-term game. And that's what the leadership is doing in Africa. They are thinking about now and they are thinking about themselves. And that's why we are stuck here. And we are really have seen it that those systems that have been, they're not working.
Right. Thank you so much, Leila Mutajogira. I hope I got your name right.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your time with us on Just Africa today, making your time available from Uganda, reaching us over here in Nigeria. She is a private equity specialist and investment strategist, and also a business strategist. Thank you so much for your time with us this morning on the program.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. This was a beautiful conversation. Thank you.
And we look forward to having it with you again next time.
Please, I'm always here.
Great. So, Olumide, I was asking that question because you mentioned Ghana, and recently we talked about Nigeria, how our government is trying to resuscitate and revive the cocoa industry by assisting farmers, giving them credit if there's need for that, making sure that that business terrain is attractive enough for investors to come put in their money. And that equally made the vice president to make a promise that he was going to start a cocoa farm by himself now, because he wants to make sure that he is individually responsible and that he's participating in
lead
that.
By example.
He wants to lead by example in that. But the thing is, do we have factories? Do we have the manufacturing technology to add value by the time we start churning out tons? By the time, because currently we are doing between 200,000 and 350,000 metric tons of cocoa in Nigeria. Cote d'Ivoire is doing about 700,000 metric tons. So, but if you said that Ghana is turning cocoa to chocolate. That it's obvious that they have the technology and they have factories and investors have pumped money into that space to bring hard value to it, to transform it from raw cocoa to chocolate, and to also find other industrial use for it. But if we don't have many of this spread across Africa, we still go back to where we are coming from, exporting our raw materials, buying finished goods, and depleting our economic strength.
I think one of the things Ghana did well, and we must study, is how they were able to build investor confidence. Because we need that in Nigeria. We need to build investor confidence. We need to create an environment that investors believe that, because let's not kid ourselves, multinationals have left. That's a depletion in confidence in the economy. So how do we now build local investor confidence for them to be able to say, okay, I want to go into cocoa. I want to invest. I want to invest into steel. Ajaokuta is still there. Even oil, crude oil, I want to invest into this. Fine, we've seen Dangote. Dangote so far has been successful. So I think that might also boost investor confidence, those who want to go into crude oil, and all that. So we need to work on that. And one of the 3 recommendations she made, the 2 of them I like, is leadership. If you are sitting on a table and you know you are a leader, you should think about your people. And she also said, whatever you are doing, think long term. So whatever policies Nigeria or any other country is making, let's think long term. I mean, yes, I remember when President Tinubu came out with the 50,000 to cushion the fuel subsidy removal, and people protested that this is just short term. So we need, whatever policy we are thinking of, it has to be long term, that even if this current administration is not there, this policy, there's a continuum, it works. So the Buy Nigeria First is a good long-term policy. It will actually help us. Just like Leila said, they decided to produce, not just to export their materials, produce it locally. So that, and one of the smarter things I think they did was that gold for oil.
Gold for oil.
It's a brilliant.
How brilliant is it? Because if you come to look at it,
yes.
If you're talking about gold for oil, and you look at the costs of gold, even in the international market, you see that
gold appreciates.
It appreciates, and it's high up there. Yes. And if it is the raw materials for Ghana, then it looks as if using that for gold, for oil, don't you think they are even shortchanging themselves?
No, they are not, because they are not just exchanging it, they are also mining it. They are mining it, they are making gold trinkets and all that out of it. So, and they understand the value of gold. If you understand the value of what you have, it's different from if you don't understand the value. Yes, people will come and rob you of your own resources, but when you understand the value of what you have, you can negotiate better. If I have gold and you have dollar, and I understand the value of what gold is, I will negotiate better than if I'm using my currency with your own dollar. You might be of the advantage if I do not negotiate well. So it's all about recognizing. They recognize what they have, and they were able to use it. Although I would have also loved to know how inflation rate affected the economy, because the inflation rate in Nigeria is about 37, and people are actually, complaining about that.
I think Ghana it's around 28.
28.
Because their CPI, their consumer perception index.
They also had IMF bailout, about $3 billion, but I think they were able, the discipline was there. They had this high sense of discipline to put that money into where it's supposed to go. I think that's one of the things we also... So, yes, while we always frown at collecting loans, collecting grants from IMF, but they also did, I think around 2022, there was a depletion in their currency. But, with the bailout and every other thing, it came up. So, yes, they sought for loans, grants, but they were...
They got a bailout.
Yes, but they were able to use it prudently.
Yes. Olusegun Obasanjo's administration from 1999 to 2007 through some of the best brains that he had in his cabinet, talking about Mr. Malam Nuhu Ribadu working as the EFCC chair, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, the former governor of Kaduna State, El Rufai, Nenadi Usman, and other Charles Chukwuma Soludo. And those are best brains that work with that from the Fourth Republic, 1999 to 2007, Obasanjo's government, and they were able to secure that for it. So that administration did excellently in that part. The subsequent administration that came after him didn't manage that process very well. And now our foreign reserve is depleted to less than $40 billion and still going down. So we can say maybe we didn't do that, manage it properly. The one thing that I will always look at is, whilst Africa is advocating for all countries in Africa to trade together. There must be this intention, the effort to make sure that they build the infrastructure, the manufacturing hubs, the factories. We should have factories here that should be able to process a raw material that is found somewhere in Côte d'Ivoire. Côte d'Ivoire should have factories that can produce to an extent the abundant raw materials within their country, but also to meet some industrial needs in Uganda. Then Kenya should be able to do something. Because if we do not do this, the technology is still out there, outside the shores of Africa, and we can't but trade with other countries.
I like what you said, be able to also produce it here, because Dr. Dauso has also said it that, while he feels that the AFCTA might not work, is because countries are producing almost the same thing. But if we are producing what we consume here, we can first sell it here, then also export it out.
Okay, it's time for us to draw the curtain on the program. My name is Oyim Priye Krumale. Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms at Souq News Television. Many thanks for watching. And coming up after this is Uniqueness of Africa.
It's been a pleasure. Let's do this again next week. I am Olumide Shokoya. Enjoy your day.
Africa is a rich continent, and when it comes to African countries with hidden riches, Burundi is generally overlooked. This little East African nation, located between Rwanda, Tanzania, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, has a strong, distinct identity. Drums in Burundi